Freedom, adventure, riches, swashbuckling rebels sticking it to the empire. This is the pirate Hollywood sold us. The glorious romantic outlaw sailing for the horizon. A bottle of rum in one hand, a cutlass in the other. We love this image. It's a fantasy of ultimate liberty. But what if I told you the average pirate career lasted only 2 years? What if I told you the real pirate's life was less about adventure and more about filth, starvation, horrific violence, and crippling disease? The golden age of piracy was a lie. It wasn't glorious. It was a short, desperate scream in the dark. Today, we're throwing the fantasy overboard. This is the brutal, unspoken truth about what it really meant to be a pirate. You've heard of the pirate code. You probably think it was just a loose set of suggestions or a plot point from a movie. Here's the first shock. The pirate code was real. And in many ways, it was more democratic than any nation in Europe at the time. A pirate captain didn't rule like a king. He was elected. Every man on board had an equal vote in all major decisions. Every man got an equal share of the food and water. And if the crew decided the captain was failing, they could vote him out, depose him, just like that. They even had a form of workers' compensation, an early insurance policy. If you lost an eye in battle, you got a set payout. A leg, even more. This wasn't chaos. This was a highly organized social structure, born from a deep hatred of the tyrannical captains they'd fled in the Royal Navy. But what happened if you broke that code? If you stole from a fellow pirate or brought a woman on the ship in disguise? The punishment wasn't a slap on the wrist. They might practice marooning, leaving you on a deserted island with a single pistol, one bullet, and a bottle of water. A slow, lonely death. Or if they really hated you, there was keel hauling. They'd tie you to a rope, throw you overboard, and drag your body underneath the entire length of the ship. The razor-sharp barnacles covering the hull would shred you to ribbons. This wasn't romantic rebellion. This was brutal, absolute control. So what about the combat? The epic sword fights on the rigging? Forget it. Another Hollywood myth. A pirate's primary weapon wasn't his sword. It was his reputation. The entire point of the Jolly Roger, the skull and crossbones, was psychological warfare. It was a brand. When that flag went up, it sent a clear message. Surrender now, and we might let you live. Fight back, and we will slaughter every last one of you. Most merchant ships surrendered immediately, no fight at all. And when a fight did happen, it was never an elegant duel. It was a chaotic, terrifying mess. Pirates didn't fight fair. They swarmed the deck, firing multiple pistols. They used the blunderbuss, a primitive shotgun, to spray metal scraps into a crowd. They tossed crude grenades. It was close, personal, and horrifyingly bloody. The goal wasn't to disarm. It was to maim, terrify, and overwhelm. Okay, so if they weren't having epic duels, at least they were getting rich, right? Buried treasure chests overflowing with gold. Almost never. Think about it. Why would a merchant ship be carrying a chest full of gold coins? It makes no sense. When pirates captured a ship, they weren't looking for gold. They were looking for things they actually needed to survive. They stole food, flour, salted beef, and most importantly, alcohol. They stole medicine. They stole supplies, wood for repairs, rope, new sails, and clothing. They stole weapons and gunpowder. This wasn't a get-rich-quick scheme. This was a blue-collar job, focused on restocking the warehouse. And the darkest truth? One of the most valuable commodities they frequently stole and traded was human beings. Pirates were heavily involved in the slave trade. It complicates that freedom-loving rebel image, doesn't it? But the single biggest lie Hollywood tells us is how pirates died. In the movies, they die in a blaze of glory, shot by a cannon or run through by the villain. The reality was far more pathetic. The #1 killer of pirates wasn't the Royal Navy. It wasn't cannonballs. It wasn't even other pirates. It was disease. Their food rotted. Their water stagnated. The ships were floating wooden petri dishes infested with rats and lice. Men died constantly from things you barely heard of. Scurvy, which made your gums rot and your teeth fall out. Dysentery, typhus, yellow fever. A simple cut from a rope could get infected and kill you in days. You didn't die a hero's death. You died in agony, shaking with fever in a filthy, damp hammock, thousands of miles from home. And if disease didn't get you, you were captured. And your glorious end would be at execution dock in London, hanged in chains as a warning to thousands of onlookers. If the life was so short, so brutal, and so disgusting, why did anyone choose it? Because this is the final, most tragic truth. It wasn't about romance. It was about desperation. The life they fled as a merchant sailor or a press gang's grunt in the Royal Navy was also a nightmare. It was a life of starvation wages, brutal floggings for minor infractions, and zero control. A pirate didn't choose between a good life and a bad life. They chose between the certainty of a long, miserable life of oppression and the possibility of a short, free one. The myth is exciting, but the truth is far more tragic. And just like the pirate, the myth of the honorable samurai warrior hides a bloody, practical, and shocking truth that you probably weren't taught in history class.